Hey everybody, this is Dr. Osborne, founder of Gluten Free Society, here to give you a new research alert today. If you are eating foods with meat glue, this is what this research alert is all about. So, the big question then becomes, what is meat glue and what does that have to do with gluten? So again, if you've got a diagnosis of gluten sensitivity, a diagnosis of celiac disease, if you've been told that you should avoid gluten for health reasons, this is a research alert you're going to want to be very, very aware of. So what we're looking at here is meat glue. Meat glue's other name or nickname, if you will, its scientific name is MTG, microbial transglutaminase. It's kind of a mouthful, but what meat glue actually is it is a byproduct of bacterial processes, meaning that it's a glue-based product that different bacteria can create, and it's used in the food industry to basically glue things together. So if, for example, if you're going out to eat at restaurants, this is largely where it's used as a glue combination for meat. So they can, piece pieces or bits of chicken, as in a chicken nugget or chicken pieces, hot dogs, sausages, even fillets and steaks can be made with meat glue. And this is where you have to be very, very clear if you're eating out. And I'm going to get to the why in just a minute. I just kind of want to give you a sense of where you can get exposure to this microbial transglutaminase, otherwise known as meat glue substance. So again, you see this chart in meats and in meat-like substances. You can find it in dairy products. It's used as a thickening agent. So things like yogurts and cheese and ice cream and dressings, etc. You can find it in processed foods, baked goods, pasta, cereals, even gluten-free processed foods, and seafood-based ingredients, particularly like if you are a sushi follower or sushi fan and you're using getting the sushi with the imitation crab meats, that's a surefire way to get exposure to microbial transglutaminase. Fish sticks, shrimp noodles, sashimi, crab cakes, all potential possibilities here. And then at restaurants, again, this is kind of a secret trade in the restaurant industry to use meat glue to basically piece together meat-based products so that very little waste happens in the industry as a result of the advent of this particular substance or the discovery of this substance. So aside from meat and dairy, MTG is used. This is what I said, those of you with celiac disease or gluten sensitivity, it's used to make gluten-free baked goods, cereals, pastas, breads, etc. So many people find or feel like they've been glutened after eating what they think is a safe product, and this is one of the reasons that you could be experiencing side effects. So this is the research update. This study was published in the journal Frontiers in Microbiology. You can see the title here, Transglutaminase and Dysbiosis as a Potential Environmental Driver of Autoimmunity. Okay, that's a big mouthful. What does that really mean? Transglutaminase is what we've been talking about, meat glue, right? So in this case, it's microbial transglutaminase, again, which is a byproduct of bacteria. And in a dysbiotic environment, meaning if you've got a problem in your gut already and your microbiome is already skewed, which oftentimes it is with gluten sensitivity and celiac disease, then using transglutaminase or exposing yourself to ingredients with more transglutaminase is a potential driver of autoimmune disease. That's what it means. In essence, if you are trying to follow a gluten-free diet for health reasons and you find that it's not working for you, now it's time to reevaluate what you're actually eating and whether or not what you're eating contains meat glue. Okay. In the summary of this particular study, what these authors came to the conclusion of, what these authors came to the conclusion of is this. You can see here the substantial luminal activity of MTGs. MTGs are meat glue, leading to cross-linking of naive proteins can potentially generate neoepitopes. What does that really mean? That's like Greek speak, right? Let's break it down. The substantial luminal activity, meaning that lots of microbial transglutaminases can be produced in a dysbiotic gut, but in addition to that, it can be found in a number of foods, and that these particular ingredients can bind and alter proteins in your gut, creating new proteins, neoepitopes. Neo means new, epitopes are little proteins that your immune system can recognize as dangerous. That's what immunogenic means. It stimulates the immune system. So it can contribute to the activation of inflammatory pathways involved in the autoimmune process. Hence, being exposed to high levels of meat glue can alter the proteins in your gut, making them look more like bad guys than good guys. And so your immune system creates an immune response against these new proteins that drives an inflammatory response that can contribute to autoimmune disease. So bottom line in this research report, if you're eating foods that are high in meat gluten and you're gluten sensitive, you may be having gluten reactions because you're getting exposure to those potential foods, even though they are technically gluten-free. That is the takeaway message that I want you to grab today. Now, I'm going to show you a diagram from the same study that I just summarized for you. This center picture here is meat glue, MTG, microbial transglutaminase. And I want to show you some of the functions or some of the things that meat glue can do. Number one, it's an anti-protease. What does that mean? A protease is an enzyme that your body produces to help you break down proteins. So if meat glue is an anti-protease, it inhibits your ability to break down your own proteins for digestion. And that's a problem because not being able to break down proteins can lead to changes in gut microbiota, which leads to what's called dysbiosis, or abnormal bacterial quantities and qualities in the gut. It's also a regulator of antimicrobial peptides. What does that mean? Is it acts as a natural protective defense mechanism for bacteria. This is a substance that the bacteria use to protect themselves, and so it can actually prevent your body from fighting. And it enhances microbial survival in that way. So as again, it strips away or blocks your enzymes to break down protein. It regulates the production of creating proteins that can protect the bacteria, thus enhancing the bacterial survivability. And the problem with that is if you've got a dysbiotic gut, maybe you've got some abnormal bacteria in your gut, that MTG could potentially protect it. So as long as you eat it, it makes it harder for your immune system to recognize and destroy bad bacteria. Not a good thing. Now, a couple of other things that meat glue can do is it facilitates gliadin uptake, meaning it helps your body take in more. It doesn't help you eat more gluten, but it helps the gluten that you're exposed to get access to your immune system and create an inflammatory response much easier. It's also, remember that meat glue is an industrial protein glue. That's what it's used for. That's why we call it meat glue. It has emulsifying properties. As I mentioned earlier, it's used to make dairy thicker and to change the palatability of certain things. It has what is called PTMP. What that stands for is post-translational protein modification, or post-translational modification of proteins. So it alters the structure and shape of proteins that are in your gut, making them look more like bad guys than good guys. One of the other things we know MTG can do is it can increase intestinal permeability, aka leaky gut. And leaky gut is one of the precursors to autoimmune disease. We also know it can affect your Th1, Th2 balance. Th1 and Th2, these are immune cells. The Th stands for T helper. So these are specialized types of immune cells that balance your immune system's response to different environmental stimulus. And then we also know that MTG can be immunogenic and actually create a scenario that looks like celiac disease. So again, if you have a diagnosis of celiac disease, if you've been told to avoid gluten because it's creating or contributing to autoimmune disease, and you are, but you're going after foods that contain or have the potential to contain meat glue, you may be defeating the purpose of your diet and following a diet that's not super effective for you. So again, that's the takeaway. That's the takeaway in today's research report. I hope this information helps you find answers if you're struggling with your health. This is Dr. Osborne, founder of Gluten Free Society, with an update. We will see you in the next video.